excited to be joining you on the very first episode of For the Sake of the Argument.
I'm excited to be here. I'm a little nervous too. Can you believe it? People think I don't get nervous. I do.
Have a sip of your martini, it will help.
Cheers to my people.
Alrighty, so the reason I'm joining you today is I want to talk a little bit about the shit we've been doing for the past 9 or 10 years since I arrived here. You are a legend in Michigan, there's no doubt about that. Michigan politics, you have politicians like elected officials, non-elected officials, people that, you know, everyone knows, some people respect, some people don't, contacting you all the fucking time and asking you for advice. And that's because of all the work you've done in the background. So Fems for Dems is probably, I think we can all agree, one of the largest grassroots women-led organisations in Michigan. And you've had people coming to you over the years from even out of state saying, how the fuck did you do this and how do we do it elsewhere? What inspired you at the very beginning to get off your ass from, you know, you talk openly about, you know, sitting on your couch and not even voting?
That's right. I didn't vote. I voted sometimes when I did for Republicans, people that I would never even think of today. But you know what? I was excited, and I've told this story 1,000 times, that Hillary Clinton was a viable candidate for president. And I thought, all these, years that we've been a country, we've never had a woman president. Well, now I know that we probably never will. But at that time...
Don't say that. Take another sip of your martini.
I can't. I've lost my appetite, even remembering that. I want to say that I was tired of things going along the way they did. That's why I started Fems for Dems. That's why I sent out an email to 500 people. And that's why we're here today. And it wasn't me. I had the great idea and the catchy name that people thought was stupid. I was right, you were wrong. And here we are today, working even harder than we were 10 years ago.
So fast forward, so obviously in 2018, we had a shit ton of success. We got the trifecta elected in terms of the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and the Governor, all women. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the shit that we copped back then for supporting 3 women? Everyone. I remember, like, you and I talking, like, 20 times a day back in those days. We'll get copping so much shit from everybody about the fact...
Even women.
Even women.
Yeah.
There is no way that we can get 3 women elected.
Right.
Can you think back to that time and tell us what you were thinking and what truly inside were you confident?
I was not. I was kind of buying that whole shtick. Why would we ever deign to think that 3 women could hold the 3 top offices in government in Michigan? Even now when I say it, I can't believe that we really did it. But we did. They were the great women, the right candidates at the right time, and with all of our help, they prevailed. But we haven't changed any in 10 years. If we did that again, and I hope that we do, we're going to be told the same thing.
Yeah, you're right. We haven't really moved that far.
No, we've gone backwards.
So I'm going to have a bit of a laugh because it's nice to reminisce from time to time. 2020 came and the pandemic happened. And I know you and I were like constantly shitting ourselves at that time thinking, what the fuck, how are we going to be able to get people out to do anything? To the point, do you remember that when we used to literally, and I can say it now, break the law at the time by catching up in a park in Birmingham? You and I would sit on a park bench. What was it, 3 feet away from it? Can you remember that?
We broke the law in many more ways than that. And we were very mindful because we didn't want to give up the fight. But we went out into the parks, and then we would drive in our cars together with the windows open. But I would always pull over because I was always the driver because you drive like shit. And I would always pull over when someone was standing by the side of the road and ask their opinion about something. But they would always be on your side. Remember that guy that stuck his head in the window and then sneezed all over you?
That's right.
I was actively, I think, trying to get you COVID.
We used to lick so many doorknobs at that stage, and neither of us got COVID. It was really kind of at the beginning. It was
I've only had COVID once, and it was like last week. So never got it during the high times.
That's because we licked so many doorknobs.
Yes.
Hey, do you remember also, because fast forward a little bit, we were doing quarantine diaries.
Yeah.
We started doing that. So it's very excited today that we're actually on YouTube and doing a podcast, and we've got our pants on and we've brushed our teeth, which was not necessarily the case in quarantine diaries.
It wasn't. And quarantine diaries, it was live.
Yeah.
So there was no redo. It was the height of ridiculousness, but it was impactful. Hundreds of people watched. decided they'd like to know more about what we were doing and get involved. So whatever we did, it worked.
So one of the things we did, I don't know if you remember this, we jumped in your minibus. Now, your minibus is very famous.
It is infamous.
It is infamous, actually. We've had a lot of fun in that minibus. But someone approached us about doing postcards for here in Michigan to get out the vote, which we always thought, what a waste of fucking time, right? Always.
Used to.
But during a pandemic, how else do you connect with people?
Right.
So we jumped in your bus. Chicago was shut down. We drove to Chicago and we collected, I think the first trip was 10,000 postcards that we collected.
And we had to carry them all to the bus. Yeah, it was a long trip. It was like if the apocalypse happened, nobody was on the road, nobody was anywhere. It was just us. It was very surreal.
It was. It was very surreal until such time as we were 1 mile, or what you said to me, Julie, we've only got 1 mile worth of gas left in the car. We'd already left Chicago. And where were we, Laurie? Do you remember?
Gary, Indiana.
That's right.
We were in Gary, Indiana. And I said, how unfortunate that under these pressurized circumstances, and it was almost dusk, are we, having never visited properly Gary, Indiana, are we now here almost out of gas? But we should go back.
We should.
Yes.
We should go and do it again.
That was terrifying, but I do it all the time. So it wasn't that unusual an activity to run out of gas with me.
No, it was not. It happened all the time. I just hadn't experienced it in Gary, Indiana in the middle of a pandemic.
I know.
Everyone in there was
But we're here to talk about it. Everything was fine.
We live to die another day. One of my other favourite memories of that time, quite honestly, the governor's office called us, I think it was about 6 o'clock one night or 7 o'clock one night, and said, we've heard on the grapevine that Mike Shirkey, who was the Senate leader at the time and a huge Donald Trump supporter, was heading out to kiss the ring of Trump, and they were going to be leaving from Detroit Airport the next morning, and they wanted us out there by about 5 a.m., I think. So
ridiculously early.
We literally had to fucking go and fill up the bus, find 15 people that would get on the bus that we could pick up.
They would answer the phone late at night.
Correct. And take out to the airport.
Yes.
Without having one fucking clue which airport it was. Remember this?
Yeah, I know. There was no way we could have achieved that, but we did.
We did.
I sacrificed myself being part of all of that hullabaloo. I parked, let you guys off at different places. You did find him.
You did.
It was perfect.
You did.
And I was outside like the getaway car, very nervous because I didn't know. I know you're not allowed to just park outside there. I was afraid I was going to have to leave you, but you guys did it.
We did it. And I mean,
what was his reaction again?
Oh, he shat himself. Basically, I think he was checking in at the time when we spotted him. So there was about 15 of us, and we're all like messaging one another saying, the eagle has landed, or whatever the fuck our code was, because we had people at both airports, because we had no idea at that time which airport, whether it be McNamara or the other airport that he'd be at. So we were covering all of them. So then, we all had to we all came up, found Shirkey together, and we caught him on camera, and then the local news caught onto it, and they caught us on camera as well. So
that is how Fems for Dems and all of us grew within our activism and our organizing, because the average person, me included, and I am the average person even after 10 years of this, we don't know what we're allowed to do and what we're not. There's a lot of shit that we can take control of to make a difference. And I think that's why we want to be here still reminding people that you are not an island, you're not alone, you're not without power. There are a lot of things we can do to make the government what we think we deserve and should have.
My dad, I know that you and I both lost our dads over the last few years, and I don't know about you.
Don't make me cry.
I'm not going to make you cry, but how much are you inspired by him? And I know he was a big supporter of you, huge supporter of you and your work.
He was a lifelong Democrat, lived to 91 years old, was an attorney until the day he died, practicing law. Everything I do is with my dad in my back pocket saying, you can do this, go ahead, push the limits. My dad always told me when I was a kid, Lori, to succeed, you have to be here because everybody else is just right there. And I thought, what the fuck does that mean, Dad? But now I know. So it doesn't take that much to stand out and make a difference.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And you've always inspired me in that way. It's like you just have to do just 10% better, just 10% more. And you give so much of yourself. So I think that is amazing. Now, the one thing that people should and do know about you is that you've always been about action. You're a woman of action. I'm pretty sure you learned that from your dad as well.
I did.
What do you hope to accomplish from a podcast, from these conversations that you're going to have for the sake of the argument?
Did I learn everything I needed in 10 years after starting Fems for Dems? No, I did not. But I did learn this, that we, myself included, had and still have a misconception about what our elected leaders owe us. I get reached out to, because of Fems for Dems and our notoriety, by every elected, every wannabe elected that you can imagine that are Democrats and independents. And they all want money or they want people. And that is what they want. And they'll do anything, not all of them. I'm not putting everybody in this bucket, but a lot of them will do everything to get your vote, to get you to do fundraisers, give money, etc. And then when they're elected, they do crazy shit like not vote for $15 wage for food service workers. And you know what? I will never understand that, and I want to train other people not to understand that and not accept it. We are not going to support elected officials that don't support us.
This makes me so happy because the honest truth is, Laurie, I feel like when we first met and we started doing the Fems for Dem stuff and, we were so active and so motivated, I feel like back then we were willing to accept anything. Anything that with a D next to it was basically, oh, yes, please, sir, may I have another? And I love hearing the fact that we're both on exactly the same page, that we're not going to accept just any old shit that is basically wrapped up in a democratic, bow. And we're going to ask the difficult questions that so many people in legacy media just don't get asked these questions. Like people just literally.
Difficult questions and questions that people are curious about. I think I have an advantage because I am not as learned as you are. You have absorbed everything to do with politics while you've been here. I have ADD, self-diagnosed. I don't know everything. I'd like to know more about people that are running for office, that are already elected, and I think people want to as well. There are many elected officials I'd like to talk to and ask the questions that every man and woman that I talk to during the week have regarding them. Some of them might be a little wonky. I'll learn something, but everybody else will too.
On that, who are you most looking forward to interviewing?
There are so many, but you know what? I think I'd like to interview Gretchen Whitmer because it's such a dichotomy to me. Yes, we're very glad she's been elected. Yes, she did a lot of good things, but then there were some stumblings along the way. And I think we want answers about that, what her mindset was, her thought process. I'm not throwing her under the bus. That's something that Democrats have to get away from. We do not throw people under the bus just because we question what they're doing, how they're voting, what their motives are. We deserve to be told why they do what they do.
There is a misconception that by questioning the people that we support, that we're in some way throwing them under the bus, which is absolutely not true. We're just simply trying to lift them up in the same way as we expect all electeds to help lift us up.
That's right.
And who do you think, I think this is a pretty easy question, but who do you think will definitely say, hell no, fuck off, we're never coming on your podcast ever?
All right, you're getting me in trouble now. I don't know. Jeremy Moss and I had a little go-round about his failure to vote for $15 an hour wage. Haley Stevens, who I think is a very hard-working elected. I'm supporting Mallory, and I think she takes that personally, and she shouldn't. So she probably, I think we've asked her.
Yeah, Mallory's coming on. Yeah.
I know, but what about Haley?
Haley said yes, and we're waiting for a confirmation now.
Okay, because you know what? I'm just one person. I can support one person at a time, and it's my own personal right to support whomever I want. And am I always right about that? No, but it's my right to do it. People seem to think I am a government agency, and I can't have an opinion. Sorry, people, I have an opinion.
That is so interesting because I think what a lot of people don't know is that's the reality. A lot of elected officials who we helped get elected back in 2018, quite honestly, and they for some reason think that you as a human being don't have the right of supporting your personal preference during a primary. I feel like you are almost an enigma, Laurie, instead of a person. And I think that's great that you've created that, but it does take the humanity out of you a little bit sometimes.
Well, listen, I better get some wins going forward. I took heat when I supported Andy Meisner over Dave Coulter. Dave's doing a great job. And I also, when I supported Hill Harper, and then who else? A million people Carl Marlenga over Diane Young. Everybody has an opinion and they think we should walk in lockstep, but can't do it.
Well, now you're going to get the pleasure of hopefully interviewing all of them. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what they have to say.
Yeah.
All right. Who's the one lawmaker that you speak to regularly that has you screaming into your pillow when you get home or after you get off the phone?
Oh my God. All right. Isn't that why I jumped into the fucking pool?
That's true.
Is this truth or dare? And now I have to do both?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Do you mean lawmaker on both sides?
Yeah,
or
both sides. It doesn't matter.
any part of the cabinet, Robert Kennedy Jr. in federally, what he's doing with infectious disease and research for cancer and Alzheimer's. I'm going to have Alzheimer's soon, so I really take that personally. In Michigan, Jeremy Moss, I never understood why you didn't take the vote the right way. I can't. Jeremy says we'll agree to disagree. I'm not even agreeing to disagree with you, Jeremy.
Well, you heard it here first. Thank you for sharing.
You ask me what Dems I hate, and I'll tell you what. I hate all Dems that don't support our values that got them elected, but vote against them. Like when they vote against D.C. being a sanctuary city, when they vote to give accolades to ICE, when they vote against $15 wage for food service workers. I hate that. And I won't forget, and neither will all of us when it's time to get them reelected.
Who is your favorite Michigan Democrat and your favorite Michigan Republican?
My favorite Democrat, I have always found this person to be really, truly selfless and doing the work and not ever being brought to anyone's attention for stepping in it. I'd say Senator Rosemary Bear.
Senator Rosemary Bayer has been a rock star for us for years. She always shows up. I love that when you have a conversation with her, she doesn't bullshit you.
Yep.
A bit like you. You don't bullshit me either. So I want to thank you for everything you've done for Fems, for Dems, and for me since I arrived here 10 years ago and had no fucking clue what sort of
And people thought you were an interloper.
Oh, they did. Yeah. I got called. I got called many things back in the day, but you always had my back, so I do appreciate.
And I always will.
I do appreciate that. What sort of conversations are you looking forward to having about Michigan politics, but with the people that you think are important? So, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm really interested in candidates' motivation. Why do they want the job that they're running for? I'm also interested, how do you think you're going to get it? Because just filing and getting signatures and then asking people to hold fundraisers doesn't do it.
So I'm very interested to hear from you what you feel about where you think Michigan's going in terms of politically. So we worked so hard back in 2018, then again in 2020, then 2022 with reproductive rights and the ballot petitions. 2024 was obviously not our finest moment here in Michigan. But 2026, where are you looking or hoping that the politicians you're going to speak to are going? We saw just recently the New York primary for the mayoral race, and that's obviously maybe an indicator as to where Democrats hopefully will be heading. Where are you personally seeing and hoping that Democrats go here in Michigan?
I hope we shift to the left. People think shifting to the left makes you unelectable. They think it only has to do with transgender issues and operations. That's ridiculous. It has to do with housing. I'm a real estate agent, as I mentioned. Housing is a crisis, affordable housing. It has to do with mental health issues. It has to do with the drug problems that we have with our young people. All these things, and healthcare, access to healthcare. All these things are progressive issues. That's where we need to be. And anybody that's running for office that thinks we don't, sorry, you're wrong.
So I had a little bet with myself. I hadn't mentioned it to anybody, but every time I have the martini, which is actually sparkling water, just FYI.
Thank you for telling people that.
That's okay. Just we want to keep them out of our DMs as much as possible, the abuse. But I have it here. And I was going to take a drink every time you mentioned that you're a real estate agent, because I know that that's one of the things that you are famous for, Laurie. Literally, you go to a restaurant with Laurie, and what's the first thing that you do or say to the servers at the restaurant?
Hey, if you're ever looking to lease a house or buy one, I'm a real estate agent. I work all over Michigan. Don't care how big or how small.
You do, and you're also a comedian.
I am a comedian. I am a failed comedian, but it helps with my real estate.
On behalf of all of Michigan, and in fact, on behalf of all of the USA, because I know how many people have relied on you over the years, I want to thank you for all the work you've done, and I'm super excited that this podcast is about to launch, and there's going to be conversations that are far more interesting than even this one. And kudos to you, Laurie. We all love you.
Well, thank you. I love you all, and thanks for the opportunity.